almost nothing. Sometimes we call each other, but these are polite, short conversations like, "How are things at work?" "Great. I have a project here." "Okay. Well, we are happy." And that's it. Mom and Dad tried to somehow establish communication, but to be honest, I no longer felt the need to prove anything to them. Hannah wrote me a couple of messages, though not to congratulate me or acknowledge my achievements, but to complain that her parents began to demand more independence from her because they look at me and see that a student can be independent. And I found this a little funny. It turns out that my example stirred up their usual world, and Hannah suddenly found it difficult to live up to their previous expectations. I will always remember that moment in the hall when the rector called my name and how everyone turned to look at me. For the first time in my life, I felt seen and acknowledged, and I achieved this on my own without money, without favors, without anyone's special favor. This feeling gives me the strength to move forward even now when I already work for a large company and periodically hear about new challenges. But no challenge seems more frightening to me than the years I lived in the shadow of my own sister, trying to get the attention of those who did not consider me a real daughter. Now that I look at my life, I know for sure, sometimes you just stop asking for love and decide to love yourself. This doesn't mean that I've become callous or bitter. On the contrary, I feel great inner peace and confidence. I'm ready to help other people who may also lack family support. I'd like to tell them that everything is possible if you have the will, goals, and faith in yourself. Everything is possible. Even if as a child, you were told 100 times that you're smart, you'll figure it out yourself, and were given no help. Strength comes from our wounds and mistakes, and the love we didn't receive is sometimes the engine that allows us to achieve great heights. When I graduated and officially received my diploma, my parents did not come to the ceremony. Apparently, they had something to do, and my mother said, "You can manage without us. Right?" I smiled and said, "Yes, of course, I can." A week later, my grandmother called me, the same one who had always been kind to me. She said, "I'm proud of you, Rachel. You are a wonderful granddaughter. I wish I could be there with you, but you know I'm always there in spirit." I almost cried when she said that because I realized that I wanted her to be the one to see me go up on stage to receive my diploma, to stand there, happier than I had ever been. But she was already old, and the journey would have been difficult for her. But her call was the warmest moment of that day, and I was immensely grateful to her. I remember a couple of months after graduation, I was packing my bags for New York when Hannah walked into the room. She had decided to see me, had driven to campus in her car. I was surprised because she hadn't been there for a long time. She came in, sat on the edge of my bed, and tried to start a conversation. "Rachel, maybe you don't want to, well, go so far away? Our parents want us to be close." "Hannah," I answered calmly, "my parents never cared what I did. Now they suddenly want me to be close? Sorry, but I have my own path." "I'm just afraid that we won't talk anymore," Hannah muttered, picking at the edge of her pillow with her fingernail. "We haven't really talked much anyway, Hannah, and you know it." She lowered her eyes and stood up, sighing heavily. Then I saw a kind of childish confusion on her face. For the first time in my life, I felt that my sister was unsure of herself.